and what they recently did toward both Zegler and the Disney company for their Snow White film. It turns out that both Trey Parker and Matt Stone are already preparing for the DEI special.
From the moment news broke that Rachel Zegler had slapped Trey Parker and Matt Stone, the creative masterminds behind South Park, with a jaw-dropping 9-figure defamation lawsuit, Hollywood knew this wasn't your average celebrity spat. This was a full-blown media war tailor-made for today's headline-hungry culture. On one side, you've got a rising star still reeling from the backlash of Disney's disastrous Snow White reboot.
Major development going on now involves more to do with Rachel Zegler and her attitude towards South Park Studios and Paramount after learning about what they are planning for their upcoming special called the DEI special.
The last time I had the dream, I was walking down the school hallway, and that's when I started to notice that something's wrong. Everyone I cared about has been systematically replaced. And finally I want to scream, and I'm like, why are they replacing every single character with someone who is diverse?
No, make it more lame. That is exactly what they're doing. And that is why we hate the diversity, equity, and inclusion casting and writing in movies.
On the other side, you've got two fearless comedy kings who've built their entire empire on dragging pop culture through the dirt, loud, unapologetic, and relentless. What started off feeling like just another outrageous South Park episode quickly turned into a high-stakes legal brawl no one had on their bingo card. This wasn't just a joke gone too far. It became a battle between a rising celeb's reputation and a show that's made a career out of roasting everyone from world leaders to music royalty. It all exploded after South Park aired a savage episode mocking the controversy around Rachel's modernized take on Disney's iconic princess classic. Parker and Stone didn't hold back. They took every headline and rumor and spun it into pure cartoon mayhem. Their animated version of Rachel strutted around a fantasy kingdom, waving a smartphone like it was a royal scepter, firing off hot takes on history, Hollywood power games, and culture wars. Each scene outdid the last, and it all climaxed with a ridiculous musical number dragging big-budget reboots like they were ancient relics. Fans laughed. Loud. But back in LA, the real Rachel wasn't cracking a smile. That smirk faded fast when she saw herself parodied in ways that cut deeper than she expected. At first, industry whispers said she'd brush it off. Rachel's smart. She knows how South Park plays. But that prediction didn't hold. Days later, TMZ dropped a bomb. Rachel. Zegler filed a $100 million lawsuit over the episode. People thought it might be a scare tactic, maybe just a bid for an apology or some image rehab. But then came the thunder. Real legal filings, harsh accusations. She wasn't playing. According to her claim, the episode didn't just joke. It went nuclear on her career. It portrayed her as a clueless diva, responsible for tanking Snow White all by herself. And the lawsuit pulled no punches. It said Parker and Stone crossed the line from edgy satire to full-on character assassination. The animated version even showed her pocketing budget money, with a sarcastic shot about snack costs casually hitting $40 million. Rachel's team called it out, loud and clear, as not just unfair, but malicious. Our rights are on the line, they said, and the evidence, they claimed, was in the fallout. Job offers dried up almost instantly. One major studio told her camp they were hitting pause until the dust settled, all because of how that cartoon made her look. To her team, that was it. Proof this wasn't just comedy, this was career sabotage. Real money, real damage. The lawsuit hit just as Parker and Stone were wrapping up a writers' meeting in Culver City. Insiders said every phone lit up at once. Notifications. Flying from Deadline, Variety, all of it. The co-creators exchanged looks. Half annoyed, half amused. These guys have weathered it all. Lawsuits from religious groups, threats from corporations, protesters chanting outside Comedy Central. But this? A single actor demanding 9 figures? That was new. One writer joked, "Guess we're finally worth $100 million each." Nervous laughs all around, but the side-eyes said it all. This wasn't just a punchline. Underneath the humor, there was real tension. Trey and Matt knew the game had changed since South Park launched in '97. Back. Then, wild satire flew under the radar on late-night cable. Now, every joke is viral in seconds, picked apart, shared, and weaponized online. If a court decided their Snow White parody was defamation, it wouldn't just sting. It could shake their entire future, including that massive Paramount Plus deal. Rumored to be worth nearly $1 billion for multiple spin-offs. Suddenly, their "nothing is sacred" motto faced its biggest legal test yet. And the public split right down the middle. Some rallied behind Rachel, saying she's been dragged nonstop online, and this was her stand, brave, even heroic, to challenge what they called unchecked cartoon harassment. Others weren't buying it. They saw Trey and Matt as comedy's last. Real rebels, defending no-filter freedom. The hashtag was everywhere. Just satire is not slander. Late-night hosts dove into the drama. Princess vs. paper cutouts was the punchline of the week. On cable news, legal panels buzzed with one burning. Question: can a cartoon really be defamation? Inside South Park HQ, Parker and Stone huddled in a late-night war room. Their instincts? Turn it into an episode. Classic move. They've always leaned into the fire. But this time, their lawyers hit pause. One wrong move could look like retaliation. Or, worse, add fuel to the legal fire. So, in a rare twist, the Kings of Chaos went silent. At least, publicly. Behind the scenes, the creative wheels were spinning. Sketches were flying. Ideas like a puppet trial where cartoon Trey and Matt took the stand, or a sad ballad titled Sue Me Gently. Even courtroom art that looked like a toddler's crayon scribble. But nothing left the room. Not yet. Meanwhile, word spread about Rachel's state of mind. Sources close to her said she was bouncing between fierce focus and full-blown burnout. This wasn't just about money. To her, it was a message. I'm not your punchline. Rachel felt that if she didn't fight now, she'd be forever locked into that viral image. Just another meme, another mockery. Critics called her dramatic. Come on, even Tom Cruise, Kanye, and the Queen got roasted worse. But her supporters clapped back. Those legends have deep careers and die-hard fans. Rachel? She's still climbing, and way more vulnerable to one viral gut punch. As the case worked its way through LA's courts, Parker and Stone finally broke their silence. No dramatic press conference, just two sharp lines. We believe strongly in the right to parody public figures and public events. We look forward to a vigorous defense of that right. Boom. Clean. No jabs. But insiders say that the second their lawyers give the green light, this entire saga is getting flipped into the next South Park classic, because at the end of the day, one massive question still hangs in the air. Where's the line between savage, satire, and career-killing defamation? Past rulings protect jokes that no reasonable person takes literally. But this case, this one's skating right on the edge. The edge
is the first American feature-length animated movie. 1937. It's one of the most beloved movies of all time.
In the South Park episode, animated Rachel Zegler belted out a wild musical number, proudly claiming she rewrote Disney's most iconic scenes just to cash bigger checks. Fans laughed. It was clearly a joke, right? But Rachel's legal team wasn't smiling. They argued that not everyone watching understood it was parody. To prove it, they brought receipts. Actual social media posts from confused viewers who genuinely thought Rachel hijacked the entire Snow White production. Her lawyers said that was the line. South Park didn't just make fun, it distorted the truth. Parker and Stone, never ones to back down, came out swinging. They presented a flood of online reactions mocking the episode's over-the-top absurdity. Their argument, no one with common sense could mistake this for fact. It was an outrageous cartoon designed to entertain, not to mislead. But just when things were getting messy, a new player quietly entered the picture. Disney. Word on the street was that the Mouse House was watching the case very closely. And sweating a little. While Disney wasn't officially named in the lawsuit, insiders claimed company execs were nervous. Why? Because court testimony could open up a can of worms. Internal emails, production notes, maybe even budget breakdowns. If subpoenas started flying, Disney's legal team would be ready to shut it down before anything leaked. The court locked in. A trial date for early next year, giving both sides time to prepare. But the timing raised eyebrows. If Rachel booked any new acting gigs, this lawsuit could resurface right in the middle of red carpet season. Meanwhile, South Park would be knee-deep in production, potentially gearing up for a fiery on-air comeback. If the legal leash loosened, whispers in entertainment law circles suggested the case might get quietly settled behind the scenes. But so far, Parker and Stone weren't budging. Settling, they said, would open the floodgates for any celebrity. Upset over a joke. Trey reportedly told a colleague, "If we pay up now, the next joke dies before we even write it." That stance lit a fire under free speech advocates. The ACLU even filed an amicus brief supporting South Park, calling satire essential to keeping the powerful in check. They warned that if comedy can't push back against the glossy PR machines behind Hollywood stars, the public might never know what's real and what's image. Rachel's team shifted gears, carefully steering the public. Conversation. This wasn't about silencing comedy, they argued. It was about someone standing up when the laughs went too far. A young actress thrown into the spotlight, dragged for months, and then cartooned for millions to laugh at. Rachel made an emotional appearance on a late-night talk show, one that doesn't usually lean into edgy jokes. Teary-eyed but composed, she said she respected satire, but not when it crossed into reckless misrepresentation that could derail a career. Her vulnerability struck a chord. Headlines branded her brave, but just as many labeled her soft. Online, the war raged on. Hashtags like Nom Team Rachel and Number Team South Park exploded, with memes, edits, and hot takes flying from every corner of the internet. Social media became a battlefield. People either mocked her or defended her. No in between. Calm, reasonable voices were drowned out by trolls and outraged junkies. Some fans posted side-by-side clips of other South Park targets, politicians, rappers, even the royal family, arguing Rachel actually got off easy. Others hit back with long threads detailing how toxic media portrayals ruin careers, canceled auditions, lost brand deals, and the mental toll that follows. By the time the court scheduled the first pre-trial hearing, the facts didn't matter anymore. It was all vibes, just pure noise, and the hearing, total chaos. Reporters jammed into the courtroom hoping for fireworks. Parker and Stone showed up in understated suits, but with a twist. Matt wore a tie printed with tiny cartoon cutouts. Trey's cufflinks were shaped like miniature TV sets. Rachel arrived separately, flanked by her legal team and dressed to command the room. Sharp navy blazer, serious expression. Cameras caught a quick glance exchanged between her and the creators. No one could tell if it was anger, nerves, or maybe just a flicker of hope that it could all end here. Her lawyers came in swinging. They zeroed in on one specific scene. An animated studio flinging cash at Rachel while she shouted, "Modernization isn't cheap, peasants!" Her team argued that bits like this made people genuinely believe she was a demanding diva in real life. The defense clapped back hard. "Come on," they said. "This is South Park, a show with talking towels and time-traveling tricycles. Who in their right mind thinks this is a documentary?" They invoked the First Amendment, insisting satire has to be allowed to push boundaries. That exaggeration isn't just protected, it's necessary to spotlight how absurd the real world can be. The judge didn't dismiss the case. Instead, they handed the question to a jury. Could the average viewer tell the difference between parody and reality? It was a middle ground ruling that pleased no one and ensured this showdown was going to trial. Outside the courthouse, the circus didn't slow down. Paparazzi swarmed. Parker and Stone gave a quick statement, calm, confident. "We believe in our work." Rachel echoed back with poise, saying she wasn't seeking revenge, just truth and accountability. But make no mistake, this case isn't just about Rachel or South Park. It's about where we draw the line in comedy, about who gets to tell the jokes and who has to live with them.
Even if everything worked perfectly, it would have been almost impossible for this movie to succeed because you're comparing it to one of the most beloved films of all time and a truly groundbreaking movie.
Then came the whispers, rumors that Parker and Stone had their hands on internal Disney emails. Allegedly, these messages showed studio execs admitting the episode was savage, but not exactly wrong. If those emails ever surfaced in court, Rachel's case could be in serious trouble. And Disney? They'd be mortified if their own team got caught confessing the cartoon hit a nerve. Real or fake, the speculation alone exploded. Podcasts, talk shows, and social feeds couldn't get enough. As the legal fire cooled briefly, Trey and Matt jumped headfirst into the next season of South Park. The writer's room? Total mayhem. They tossed out insane pitches, cartoon characters suing for unpaid royalties, laws banning jokes over 6 seconds long, even an episode turning lawyers into collectible trading cards. The goal? Keep the satire sharp without poking. The legal bear too hard. Eventually, they landed on a script so razor-edged that the censors flagged it immediately. After some wild edits, the episode aired. An off-the-wall allegory with enchanted puppets and a courtroom run by overly literal robots. No names, no lawsuits. But fans, they got the message, loud and clear. Suddenly, chaos reignited. Think pieces. Dropped like confetti. Was South Park breaking the gag order, or just skating right up to the edge? Meanwhile, Rachel stayed locked in. She threw herself into a gritty indie film, far from the franchise circus. Her team said she finally felt peace on that set, away from nonstop drama. She never mentioned the lawsuit. Every ounce of focus went into the role. But once the press tour started and trailers hit, you already know. Interviewers circled back to South Park. Rachel kept her cool. She answered with grace, then pivoted right back to the movie. She didn't want courtroom sound bites. She wanted headlines about her talent. But Hollywood was gearing up for a clash. As the trial date neared, courthouse security braced for protesters and fans camping outside. Streaming platforms scrambled to snag recap rights, smelling a ratings. Bonanza experts warned this case could rewrite the rules, how far satire can go when real people are in the crosshairs. If Rachel won, comedians might face a wave of lawsuits. But if South Park came out on top, satirists could get bolder than ever, shielded by the law. In court, opening statements pulled zero punches. Rachel's lawyer painted a gut-wrenching portrait. A rising star publicly dragged through the mud. They claimed the cartoon crossed the line from funny to flat-out character assassination. The defense clapped back, praising America's long history of roasting the powerful, from savage political cartoons to brutal late-night zingers. Parker and Stone, they argued, were just holding a funhouse mirror to pop culture. One lawyer dropped the mic. Do we really want a world where cartoons need a disclaimer? No parody intended? The courtroom ate it up. Witnesses lined up. Media analysts, celeb psychologists, even an economist who claimed Rachel lost serious cash. And yes, Parker and Stone took the stand. They walked the jury through their creative process, how they chase absurd angles, how their fans know this isn't the evening news. It's a joke. But during Cross, they didn't deny it. Yeah, sometimes they lean into controversy. They admitted it boosts ratings. That moment hit hard. Then came Rachel. She took the stand, calm but raw. She described waking up to her social media flooded with South Park clips, each one laced with mocking captions questioning her professionalism. She talked about anxiety, canceled auditions, and the dread of being labeled difficult before her career had even started. When the jury went into deliberations, the whole room felt it. Electric tension. The jurors were torn. They clearly sympathized with Rachel, but they had to weigh that against satire's legal shield. After 3 intense days, the verdict dropped. Not guilty. Parker and Stone walked free. The jury 4-person explained they believed Rachel's pain was real. But the episode was so wild, so obviously exaggerated, no reasonable viewer could mistake it for fact. It was, in their words, unmistakably parody. At Comedy Central, total relief. Execs exhaled like they'd been holding their breath for months. Outside court, Rachel stood tall. She thanked her supporters and vowed to keep pushing for respectful storytelling. Yeah, she looked shaken, but also stronger. She made it clear this fight wasn't just hers. It was for every artist trying to protect their image in an industry that sometimes cuts too deep. Parker and Stone, flanked by lawyers, they dropped a one-liner and dipped, "We're going back to work." No gloating, no digs. Just done. Even they seemed to know. This win came with baggage. The trial had cracked something open. Weeks later, Rachel's indie film hit theaters, and critics loved it. They praised her depth, her emotional range. Her fans hadn't left her. And South Park? It roared back. The next episode opened with a cheeky dedication. To anyone who's ever wanted to sue us, thanks for watching. Ratings soared, but something had shifted. The jokes still slapped, but now they came with a touch of self-awareness. Like Parker and Stone finally got it. Even satire leaves bruises. Law schools now teach the case. Media ethics panels dissect every scene. Legal scholars called it a win for free speech. PR pros called it a bruising battle. Nobody won clean. Rachel walked away with new respect as an artist who stood up when it counted. Parker and Stone kept their edge. But maybe, just maybe, left with a sharper understanding of who's listening when the laughter dies down. This wasn't just a headline, it was a moment, a reckoning. One animated episode turned into a cultural flashpoint, forcing everyone, fans, critics, creators, to ask where the line really is. And even though the dust's settling, one truth sticks. Creativity and criticism aren't enemies. They're dance partners, pushing, clashing, shaping the culture together. If you vibed with this breakdown, hit like, subscribe, share it with your crew, and drop a comment. We want to hear your take. Was this free speech, or did it go too far? Let's talk. Catch you in the next one.